Good, welcome back to our Excel course here. What I wanted to show you today is kind of an overview on how to visualize your data a little bit more efficiently. Means if you have analyzed your data, be it with functions or with a pivot table, then I want to show you how to improve those things you did there by adding it with conditional formatting. So the idea is we first of all analyze data, and the easiest way normally is to do kind of a pivot table where we do a pivot table on the given data here. What means if we go to a pivot table, we can now jump around and kind of show different ideas. For example, analyzing the profit that every of our employees did with what product, and that gives you quite a nice overview. And if we now go to the value field setting, we can make it look nicely by using a currency version and perhaps to give it even a little bit more space. The problem is that if you look at these kind of tables here that we generated now, it's not something you find very appealing if you look at it. And you need to take a closer look at all different numbers to find best sales or best profit and worst profit. So the solution here will be to have kind of a formatting behind it. And for that, we can use the conditional formatting that you find up here. So the easiest ones normally is that we mark in most of the cases the data part, not the totals, but the data part, and we can apply here several conditional formattings. The easiest ones are if you want to make sure you have kind of highlighted some of them. If they exceed or are below a certain limit, then you have kind of your options over here. Or we could go for the top 10 rules, for the top 10%, for the bottom 10%. Just the 10 is only a possible number. So if we go for top 10, we can decide if we only want to have the top 5, and we want to have the top 5 stand out not in red, but in green or in yellow. So we can have kind of different formattings here, or the top 10% and go for the green one. So that is kind of something that makes life easier. And we can have more than one conditional formatting here. So if we apply this, and we could have another with the bottom 10%. Now, if you look at the data, it makes sense already, because you see a lot of information. So the best profits and the worst profits. If you have applied several conditional formattings, you can get rid of them in the conditional formattings of clear rules, either with selected cells or from the entire sheet, to get rid of them again. Additionally, quite nicely also, those data bars are acceptable, where you can really instantly make your data visible, or the color scales, which are used quite often. One of the most used ones is the green, yellow, red color scale, where green is best, red is the worst. Or even icon sets, where you can choose sort of typical traffic signs, where we can have kind of ideas, what is a good one, what is a bad one, or different ratings. I wouldn't overdo it, because of course you can overlay several of them over each other, but then you can't see anything anymore. The problem here is, for example, if you look at the result of the color scales, the green, yellow, red, one of the reasons why you only take the data part in here is because it is to be applied that the smallest number is red, the highest number is green, and everything in between will be on a scaling here. So that means if you take all of them, of course the highest number is much too high, and if you apply the same setting here, everything of your basic data is red or yellow, which gives not a very good impression here. So that's one of the reasons why normally you only take the data in the center. There we can apply it, and if you need to do anything additionally, you are applying an additional formatting to those sums, to make sure that those are being seen differently than the typical data part. Now the problem is that if you show this to your boss, it might be that Mr. Miller and the Duron are not very kind of seen very good. The problem is if you look at the conditional formatting here for the managing of the rules, the gradient is set to a basic default one, and graded color scale can be edited, and we normally apply the rule to the given cells in the center, and we apply it in the 3 color scales, while the lowest value is red, the percentile is yellow, and the highest value is green. It's no problem at all to say, well, not the lowest value is red. Let's go for a basic number because still a lower value means 200,000 profit. So how about going to the number 0 and the yellow, let's shift it to the 20%. And if we go now to OK and apply this, it looks much better. It's the same numbers. It's much better to sell. Additionally, of course, we could go for the managing of the rules and say, well, and honestly, if we are not in the highest number, but let's face it, so if we are at, let's say, 6 million, green is a perfect one, so that looks good. Now everything above 6 million is green, and that gives us a much better impression what we want to show and how we want to impress the people. Still, it's the same numbers. We didn't cheat anything here. We just made different approaches here. And that's one of the big things you need to remember. If anybody shows you something with the conditional formatting, take a look at it and make sure you understand what is behind it. The conditional formatting can be quite tricky because, for example, if we go to an empty field and we apply conditional formatting here with the color coding, it is applied. And even if we say, well, and for this one, please, those cells delete, we only deleted the information within. The conditional formatting is still here. That means if we apply here a number and here a number, you see that the conditional formatting takes place, and that means the more we apply here, and if we now say, well, 150, you see that all the other cells will be adopted. And that means you need to know where is the conditional formatting set. And either you know it or you delete it, because we know if we are going to the conditional formatting, we can clear the rules from the entire sheet or only in the selected cells. But with the find and select, we have the option of go to, and within the go to, there's the special go to, and we can go to cells with the conditional formatting, and either we go to all of them or go to the cells with the conditional formatting the same as the cell we marked. And if we do so, now we see those are the cells that have a conditional formatting the same as the cell we had. And now we could go for clear the rules of the selected cells. Everything is fine again. That is one idea of how conditional formatting works. Another thing, of course, is we could go there and say, well, just check if it is above or below something, so we can add here kind of conditional formattings, or even do funny things like we want to have sure that every second cell is yellow. That means if we do yellow here, we need to apply this with the conditional formatting either or with the formatting of the cells, and the second cell problematic will be solved quite easily. So that is kind of something that we can check, and the same thing can be done here to check if the last cell is larger than the first one. So if we calculated the profit wrong, let's do it this way. And so conditional formatting, if it is this cell is greater than kind of this, then do it with the green, so everything is fine. And now if we copy downward on our calculation, we see that we have here our typical calculation, and that's it, what we're aiming for. So we want to make sure that this is within the conditional formatting. We can manage the rules, and here it is important that for the rules, if you apply it, you need to take care, because normally he sets those cell references absolute, and for this specific one we need to take sure that he uses not the absolute but the partially absolute reference, because if we move downward here, if the number is now 58,000, it would be smaller than the 70,000 up here and wouldn't be applied. So that's something that we can check for and see, okay, everything is fine, and do we have any problems in here? No, we don't. And that's easy to check, because if we made a mistake and we said here it might be minus, instantly this wouldn't be shown in green. So we have kind of the option of also checking for failures. So the conditional formatting has several nice ideas. So the rules can be adapted, new rules can be generated, but most of the cases, those typical basic rules are to be used quite nicely.